Good morning, fellas. Dynasty till death, man. Big week, boys. A lot of action, man. I mean, we had a second all-time score. Playoff teams are kind of heating up. That middle of the pack's getting exciting. Lots to talk about, man. We gotta get in, man. We gotta jump in. Good morning, guys. So we're jumping into week 8. We're gonna start things off with Rocco and Paul. As Paul calls us, this was a win-win for Paul, holding Rocco's first. But Paul continues down the path he kind of would like to go down. Wide receivers, not really giving everything, but do you really need a lot from your wide receivers if one of them scores 17 touchdowns? A.J. Brown, man, that dude's a problem. Young stud, looks to be thriving in that offense with Philly and Jalen Hurts. Honorable mention, Jalen Hurts looked great, but we're going to talk about him a little bit later. But yeah, A.J. Brown looked fantastic. A lot of questions around the other wide receivers. Sutton, I had the highest expectations of Sutton this year, and it just doesn't seem to be clicking the way I think we all thought. I think, surprisingly, Evan Ingram looks good. He's somebody I was off a while ago just based off of the lack of consistency. But I want to just say he's getting targets. Trevor Lawrence and him starting to see some rapport there. So it's just something to note. Rocco, big week from Chubb, big week from Henry. He got some wide receiver support, so it's good to finally see what Rocco can do, putting up almost 150, having that support at the wide receiver room. So, I mean, it just, when you have that consistency throughout the lineup and it's there on a regular basis, it just shows it really doesn't cap off the ceiling for what a team can do. Rocco's one of those teams. He's fighting for each win, could definitely be one of those playoff teams. Paul is in a situation where he is kind of thinking about next year, but has some interesting pieces on the roster to look forward moving forward. So got to respect the champ in that regard. Keep an eye on him. As always, can't let Paul slip by. And then Rocco, man. Rocco getting wins when he needs them, putting up points when he needs to. Another team to look out for. All right, second matchup. We're going with John and Zach. This game got a little close in the middle of it. Deontay Foreman, man, 35 points. I mean, the dude went off for Carolina. I don't know if it's that whole let's trade our best player, rally around P.J. Walker. DJ Moore balled out, which we'll talk about again later with our second all-time score recap. But it's just interesting, man. It's Foreman was a beast. I did not see this kind of production. But this is one of those weeks where John didn't really get any other support. And it takes a lineup, man. It takes everybody showing up to win each week in this league. It's very difficult. So it just shows and speaks to the competitiveness in this league, man. You gotta, even with big weeks, somebody dropping a 40 ball, it's just not enough. Zach got some love from Aaron Jones. He's kind of picking up steam a little bit there, kind of taking that backfield over again. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Just another good cornerstone piece for Zach, be able to build off of each week and give him a solid baseline. And then we got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is probably the most frustrating player to own. You probably go the whole game thinking you're going to get 10 points from him, and then you look down at the box score at the end of the day, and he gives you 25 to 30. It's got to be maddening. I would hate to do that. Josh Allen sometimes does that to me. But nevertheless, if the points get there, I'm sure Zach is happy with that. Zach is now 6-2, and I believe he is the 4 seed in the playoffs. So to see a team be in that playoff hunt and also have the draft capital to make a lot of significant moves next year or this season, Zach's definitely turning into that team where everybody should be mindful and aware. I think Commish Drew kind of tagged him as that dark horse this season. And he's kind of speaking to that and showing that. So good matchup here this week. Lots of action there, but definitely one to keep an eye on. John's looking for that playoff push. Zach's in it. So we'll see how those two teams shake out. J&J. Justin and Jeff. Bad week for Justin, man. Pickens gave him a goose. Barkley continues to shine for him, but only 60 points on the week. That's just not going to cut it by any standard, let alone in this one. Justin's in a weird place right now. He was a top scorer as far as being consistent with the top tier scorers, but a few injuries, Mostert not being, what he's been for the season. No Mike Will in the lineup on a bye anyways, but still, you're definitely starting to see some of that that fall out there with the injuries. It's just hard to lose a Brees. It's hard to lose a Mike Will and still remain competitive. But if anybody can do it, it's Justin, just off of the type of owner he is. So we'll see kind of how he likes to gauge and scale the rest of the season, whether he seems fit to make a move, or, J-Mo's coming back off the bench. Mike will be back. So he may be just kind of waiting and seeing in that situation. Jeff Sims, Big Sims with 1M. He said, "Fuck you, Donnie. 1M. Heard. I hear you, Sims." ETN, man. ETN looks great. Huge workload. I personally got a little nervous with how much they were giving him involved and giving him the ball. But, if he can handle it, he's going to be electric, man. He's just got a speed that not a lot of players have, especially at the running back position. And he's looking like a very, very strong future dynasty running back to have. So good on you, Jeff Sims, trading the first straight up for that. I think that was a great move now. Antonio Gibson, man, Washington's so fucking weird, man. These guys just don't know what the fuck they're doing. But Gibson looks great. I think we've all said and watched Antonio Gibson, aside from the small fumbling issues. Gibson is a talented player, and he seems to be kind of thriving in these situations where Washington is behind and they actually have to pass him the ball, which is, I think, what Jeff has been calling for 2 years. So it's just good to see ETN get that work, or Gibson, get that work that he can kind of carry and handle, and he's being productive with it. So Jeff Sims, another one of those teams. I think he's in at 4-4, 4 wins for Big Sims. Another team similar to John, who happens to play each other next week, that are 4-4, looking for those playoff spots. So definitely keep an eye on Jeff Sims. He's kind of making a push, starting to surge a little bit, getting some consistency from the wide receiver position. And as I talked about earlier, man, that consistency throughout the lineup is everything. So Jeff Sims, I see you. Justin, hang tight. But yes, 2 owners and 2 teams to pay attention to moving forward. Okay, so we had Commish, Drew, and Mr. Avery. Let's just put some more respect on Drew. 207. 207. Ugh, disgusting. Who wasn't hitting for Drew? I think Mark Andrews went down on Thursday. Seems like he's going to be fine. Not a big deal there. But for Drew to say, hold my beer and go drop 207, man, there's nothing but respect you can do in that situation. DJ Moore sighting. Waddle went off. Diggs was going crazy. Super Camario finally got into the end zone. I think he hadn't scored a touchdown all season long, and he got 3 this week. I don't know what him and A.J. Brown were drinking over the weekend, but I need some of that yak because them boys were going off. Jalen Hurts. If you're going to only have Jalen Hurts for one bye week and he drops 30 on them, I guess that is mission accomplished, Drew. So nothing but tip of the cap there, sir. You are setting the pace as far as expectations. You are the front runner, and rightfully so with that lineup. Avery, CMC, gross. Man, threw for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, ran for a touchdown. D-Hop looks good. Avery put up a very strong week. His stars were clicking. He's got the firepower to be a scary team. He's one of those teams where you just don't want to see him if he's that last seed in the playoffs or something like that. I'm not projecting him to be there, but just kind of speaking to what his team could do. Avery had a very respectable week, putting up 140 against Drew. When you run into a monster, what are you going to do? 207's killing everybody. So second all-time in scoring, Drew. Big up, sir. Got to give you your love there. Just a beast lineup, man. Beast week. I think both teams performed really well this week. Both earning some respect. All right, we got Javi and Jeff. This got a little dicey, to be honest with you. But the Tiger King held it down. Kittle looks good in the lineup. One thing about Javi, you see a level of consistency. The Mike Evans, the T. Higgins, the JJ, the Mixon, the Swift. They're just all players that will provide a very consistent floor. Which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. Owners and things like that discuss building your team off of that safe floor, with also mixing in players with those high ceilings, the JJs, the Swifts, the Joey Burr. See how he started him. Good decision. But then we also had Jeff on the other side. Pollard. I personally tried to acquire Pollard before this week. I kind of sensed a blow-up game. But I didn't expect him to do that. Pollard looked amazing as the feature back in Dallas, which may create some controversy with Zeke's stock moving forward. I think Pollard is a restricted free agent next year. Somebody saw a tweet talking about Pollard going to be looking good with the Buffalo Bills next year. Questions, but Pollard looked great. Bateman, he's probably one of the most trickiest players to evaluate, I want to say, in the past 12 months. He's one of those players who has all the talent, speed, skill in the world, is in a great situation. They moved off of their number one to help him be the number one. But, man, the dude just can't stay healthy. I think we all want Rashad Bateman to be great. I think Paul, originally starting the season off, expected him to kind of be somebody to take that step. I think everybody who owns him wants to see him take that step, but it's very difficult, man. If you're not on the field, you're just not going to get that production. You're not going to get that consistency, rapport with your quarterback, and then also consistency for fantasy, which is what we're talking about. Jamar Chase, thankfully no IR. Hopefully they're not rushing anything back with that. I know Jeff is perfectly fine with them taking their time, as he should be. But also just goes to say, man, you move one of those pillars, it's very tough to compete with these elite teams. And Javi is definitely one of the elite teams in this league. But still a respectable showing from Jeff. Came out and represented himself well. So Javi's continuing to make that push. He is the 2 seed right now. You got to watch out for that Tiger King, man. And Donnie versus Casper the Friendly Ghost. I think Sunday morning, I started off, I was hot, man. I mean, you got Jerry Jeudy getting titties. You got CeeDee Lamb looking like CeeDee Lamb. I wasn't real happy about that. Dak also looked good. So, hey, if this is what he's going to get moving forward from some of these younger players, Greg's outlook in future may not be as grim as I talk my shit about normally. But that being said, wasn't enough to get past me this week. Wide receiver room looked good for me. Gave me a lot of consistency. Lockett dropped the touchdown. I think I broke a knuckle during inventory when he dropped that touchdown. But he did redeem himself and get in the end zone, but should have had 2. Cooper Kupp, a little bit of a scare. Why is your star wideout one of the best wide receivers in the game with like 2 minutes left and you're up like 14? Who the fuck knows? But all reports say avoided a bigger injury with the high ankle sprain. Very minimal day-to-day. Sean McVay said he will expect him to play this Sunday. I personally don't mind if he wants to take a week off. Cooper Kupp, take your time getting back, but I'm glad that we avoided a major injury. Amari Cooper, man, you dumbass. How you going to throw an interception to start the game off? I'm over here heavily drinking, and then you want to ball out for the second half. Amari Cooper gave a good showing. Still looks to be that clear wide receiver one. David Bell caught a few passes. DPJ is still involved in that offense, but Cooper looks to be the guy. And I'm hoping that connection and rapport continues when Deshaun gets back. Big week, man. A lot of action, a lot of fun matchups. Next week is interesting, man. We got Drew versus Javi. 2 playoff teams looking to make a statement against one or the other. These types of matchups with these types of owners, this is shit-talking rights. I mean, yeah, we care about the playoffs, but we anticipate making a push and, despite major injuries, getting in the playoffs with those 2 teams. But this is shit-talking rights. So we'll be interested to see how Drew and Javi handle themselves all week. We also got Avery versus Jeff. Now, I know this isn't an elite matchup as far as win-loss records, but as far as draft implications, this is an important matchup. Avery versus Jeff can swing those top 3 picks. And then we got Jeff and John fighting for playoff spots. Both teams at 4-4, both making moves these past few weeks. John got a win against me last week. Jeff's kind of on a winning streak here. But both teams could potentially push themselves into that outside looking in 5th slot. If any of the top teams start to falter, they'll be looking to jump in and take that slot. So 3 very interesting matchups next week. I tell you all every week, man, Dynasty to death. Greatest league in the world. Proud to be my home league. Proud of the people we have in it. And that's pretty much the recap, boys. It's going to be a great week. Keep pushing, keep fighting. Let's touch base real quick. Playoff race. Myself in first. Javi in second. Drew is holding down the scariest 3 spot I've ever seen. And then we have Zach sitting on the 4. You got Rocco, John, and Jeff 4-4 looking in. You have some 3 and 5s and Justin and Paul. And then we got Greg looking like the 101, Jeff at the 201, and Jeff at the 102, and Avery at the 103 as far as next year's top 3 draft picks. hell of a league, hell of a season so far. We 8 weeks in and we just getting started, man. Don't think the work stops now, boys. If you're trying to make them playoffs and you're trying to make a push for a ship, the work is just beginning. Dynasty to Death, Week 8, recap. Obi-Don Kenobi signing off.